Welcome everyone to the May 20th, 2025 Pet Club 24/7 call. And it is Testimonial Tuesday. That's my favorite call of the week, and I'm looking forward to this one for sure. And we'll do just a real quick overview of how this all got started. And it was started by three very dedicated owners who opened the door via a healthy pet idea, a pet company, a pet supply company. And the reason was they had this amazing immune modulator that was powerfully changing lives, 9 out of 10 people, no matter what was going on with people. And it literally scared them because of the regulatory restrictions that our current regulatory health arena is just way overbearing. And when something works this well, they were just made them afraid. And they were actually having a cookout, and one of their dogs had to be put down because of cancer. And two other individuals in that cookout chimed in and said their dogs had to be put down with cancer. And they looked into it, and they saw that the pet marketplace was being heavily challenged with health issues and a very accelerated pace of degeneration and increasing crisis of health conditions in pets. And they wondered if this would work with pets. And when they looked into it, they found out that the University of Pennsylvania was already studying. It was a veterinarian school, was already studying with cancer, and dogs, a very aggressive form of cancer, was being tested. And dogs on this particular mushroom, the Coriolus versicolor, were living 3 to 4 times longer than the ones that were not taking that with the same cancer. So they knew that it worked with pets, and they decided what a great place to bring this into the marketplace. And it was great. I mean, and it still is. Yeah, pets are turning around, and it's amazing. I get calls all the time. Dogs, horses, cats, goats. We hear about chickens. It doesn't matter. All mammals, and even turtles. We've heard some turtle stories. Anyway, it just flat out works. And what had originally happened was one of the founders, his mother, was diagnosed with a severe lung affliction and was at Sloan Kettering. And they did everything they could medically possible. And at the end of all of that, they gave her about 2 months to live, to get her go home and get her affairs in order. While the son, who was the future founder of this company, was calling family members and friends and letting them know the dire situation. And one was a cousin who lived in Japan, who happened to be a physician working with this Coriolus versicolor mushroom with a team of researchers and scientists and doctors, literally standardizing it. And in Japan, a lot of research has gone into it. In fact, they've been able to, using modern technology, to figure out and track that there's over 200 varieties of Coriolus versicolor globally. And all of those different varieties have different potencies. And through modern technology, they were able to track what actually made it so effective for thousands of years, why the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Romans used all throughout Asia, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, why it was so effective and so popular to be used as a longevity formula, as a health and wellness formula. And they found some amazing things. Through modern technology, they found a broad array of bioactive polysaccharides, also known as glucans. And these glucans are very beneficial for our body, for various systems. It's very supportive for gut function and liver function and brain function. And you combine all of that and look at the immune system, it supports the immune system in a very powerful way. So they had isolated what made it work. So they started tracking the most potent one and going after that one. And they found these various polysaccharides. They found among them PSK, polysaccharide protein, and polysaccharide crestin. And it was in fact polysaccharide crestin, PSK, that was found to be extremely tumor suppressive. But PSP was also had these amazing effects like antiviral, antibacterial, etc. And other of the glucans, they found different modulating capacities, anti-inflammatory, modulate the immune system, all of these different things, all in one particular whole food. It's an amazing thing that they found through research, which validated thousands of years of use. But through their technology, they were able to isolate the most potent and pure variety. Then they noticed that even that variety had different, as they tested it, had different activity and different polysaccharide profiles. So they found the most potent time was mycelium phase, which was counterintuitive. Most people harvest it when it's actually fruited body because you get more biomass. You can actually make more money because you get more product. But the mycelium is the potency is exponentially more powerful, and there was a broader array of these beneficial polysaccharides. So that's where they focused. And then they focused on how they can extract it and maintain the integrity of all of these wonderful ingredients. And they came up with that. Well, upon hearing of this dire situation of Simon Liu's mother, this cousin said, would she try it? And of course, the son said, absolutely. They're giving her no hope. So they expressed it over. Long story short, 4.5 months later, she was back at Sloan Kettering because she was feeling so good. She went back in. She didn't have an appointment. She just went back in to tell them, look, I'm feeling great. I know you told me I had at most 2 months to live. Here it's 4.5 months later. What's going on? The doctors were shocked. And they ran all of the tests and they found no evidence of disease. And they thought that was impossible. And what did you do? Was their question. And when they heard what it was, they said, that's hard to even believe, but we need to study it. That's where the studies began. And that was at Sloan Kettering. And it was so, the results of the studies were so amazing that MD Anderson started studying it. And they found the same thing. It went to Loma Linda University and to Harvard, and American Cancer Society picked it up, sponsored studies all around the country to the tune of hundreds of studies, all saying the same things. Now that's true science. When you have thousands of years of empirical evidence, where you have all of the use of this for millennia, and then you have modern science validated, and then the most prestigious institutions in the world all validated with the same conclusions, you have to realize you have something amazing, and they did. But they were a little bit afraid of what to do with it, which was too bad. But 2 years into the pet company, with pets just turning around dramatically, like we've experienced with our dog, that just we were ready to put him down, and now he's got a new lease on life. So we get it. If we watched that happen and we just thought these were pet products, we would actually start eating he was taking mush ponies because he's such a big dog. We'd start eating those. I'd start eating them. In fact, I've taken a couple bites of them myself. They're made in human grade food kitchens. They're all 100% whole food. They're non-GMO. It's all organic and tested for any impurities, every batch, not just randomly, every batch. So the cleanliness of the facility is extremely high. So it's all human grade. But anyway, the people started eating these and demanding human product. Well, they knew that they had been used for humans thousands of years. So they said, we'll make a compromise. We'll put a human product on our website with one caveat. We will not allow human testimonials. They just want to keep it safe. So that's how it's been going. And now it's about 50-50 human and pet in terms of their business. But pets benefit and humans benefit, and that's just an amazing thing, and it's an amazing story. I love this night, this Testimonial Tuesday, and we have someone on here. In fact, I started taking this in January because I had a lung affliction, not as serious as the mother of Simon Liu, but it was some kind of virus. And I've been in functional medicine for 45 years. And I just thought, I know what to do, and I was doing it. but it wasn't getting better. That's what shocked me. After 3-4 days, it wasn't getting better. It was actually getting worse. And the night times were especially bad. And so I was talking with Kurt and Kristen, and they expressed me some product, and I started taking it. And 2 days, my lungs cleared up. And then we watched our dog completely age regress. Literally, he'd lost most of his fur. By 2 weeks in, his fur was regrowing. By 2 months in, his fur looks like it did maybe 4 years ago, at least 3 years ago. He looks amazing. He plays every day now, and he wasn't doing that. He was gagging all the time when he ate, and he had lumps in his throat at 11 years old. And I figured it was probably some kind of cancer. I didn't want to take him in and put him through the ordeal. But now his throat is clear. He doesn't gag anymore, and we have our dog back. Well, right around the end of January, I was talking with a friend of mine. It might have been the first part of February. I can't remember the exact day, but it was very early on. I was talking to a dear friend of mine from many years, Bill Kraft. And Bill was telling me that he had a sister-in-law that was struggling. And we happened to have her husband on tonight, DJ. And DJ is going to tell us her story. And it's a pretty amazing story. And I really want to salute DJ and congratulate him for stepping up and sharing this story, because I think it will inspire many people. DJ, if you can unmute, please do so. Are you there?
There I am.
Awesome. Thank you, DJ. I really, really appreciate you being here and sharing your story with us. It's one of great impact, and I really, really appreciate hearing it. And I just heard it for myself just a few days ago.
Okay, so our ordeal started here in December. We had quite a winter. Briefly, my wife had cancer 6 years ago and went through the normal process of cutting, burning, and poisoning, and she survived it. And 5 years later, she's cancer-free. So they felt success. Well, a year later, which was last year, something went wrong, and she started having this cough that wouldn't go away. December 5th, we went into the emergency room because she was in so much pain. And they tested her, and they said, your right lung cavity is full of fluid. And that is 99% sure that that's cancer. So they said, your breast cancer has come back, and it's in your lung cavity. So that's not the news you wanted to hear. And so we went home, and we immediately began to pray. We said, Lord, if you want this healed, then you guide us and you show us what to do. So as you know, if you're diagnosed with cancer, it takes them 2 months to ever do anything. So in the process, she kept having this pressure in her chest from all this fluid. So they started draining it out the back. They would puncture the back through the ribs, and they would drain out a liter or more, up to 1.5 liters at a time. But they had to stop there because you get air pockets in there, and then it's really bad, and they have to do surgery, and so they won't take out too much. But when they'd get 1 liter or more out, it was still 2 liters left inside. It didn't relieve the pain. And so she was in this terrible pain, and the cancer, when they eventually did a PET scan, was metastasized onto the bones, so the ribs and the backbone. And if you know anything about cancer, that's one of the most painful things you can get, is bone cancer. So she's in this terrible pain, and they're not really doing anything. And we keep draining this 8 times. She had her chest drained, and again, in terrible pain. So finally, we get an appointment to go to the oncologist, and he wants to start her on chemo, of course. Now he says, we can't heal it, but we can extend your life, and you can live for a few years. Well, we've seen that happen. We've seen people be miserable and have more life, but be miserable. And so we talked about, we didn't know if we really wanted to do that. So we prayed about it, and we went into the meeting where they were going to describe what they're going to do and the side effects and so forth. So we're in the room with an assistant who's telling us all this. And after they go through it all, it's like we took this and we says, we're not going to do that. We're just not going to do that. And to our shock, the assistant said, well, the door's closed, and I'm going to not say this, but I'm saying it. I wouldn't do it either. Well, that was that was the answer we're looking for. So he says, okay, Lord, we aren't going to do that. We don't know what we're going to do, but that's not it. So we went home, and again, she's been in pain this whole time, incredible pain, and she's taking oxycodone. They gave her a prescription, lifetime prescription for unlimited amounts of oxycodone. So you know what they expected. So we go home and we say, well, now what are we going to do? Well, amazingly, within the hour, cousin Bill called and he said, you know, I was not going to get into any more of these multi-level things like this, but I got this call from Jerry, and this is special because you should listen to this. So he sent us a video, and we watched a video of Kristen and explaining what had happened, how this started. And immediately we looked at each other and said, this is what we're supposed to do. So we ordered the mushrooms, started taking them, and in 5 days, she was starting to feel better. And we said, maybe this is going to work. And then she turned around and started feeling worse. Well, what had happened was, because of all the fluid, they'd installed a chest drain, and it was supposed to drain the fluid out so she didn't build up pressure. And then they drained all the fluid out and relieved the pressure, which helped. But she still had this tremendous pain all the time, taking oxy and just couldn't get over it. And then she started downhill. Well, what had happened was the hospital had caused an infection into her chest cavity. So now it wasn't just cancer, it was a massive infection. So we went back in the hospital and she stayed there for almost a month while they're treating this infection. But during that time, I kept bringing the mushrooms to her and she kept taking, because this is what we're supposed to do. Well, she'd been in there almost a month, and right at the end, this started December 5th. This was the 1st of March. And she'd been taking the mushrooms a couple. And one day she says, I don't have any pain. And I don't need that oxycodone. And they'd come in every 6 hours. What's your pain level? Well, I don't have any pain. And okay, well, we won't give you any. So that was great. And so we went home and they put this drain, a different drain in, and it was still draining her chest fluid. And it kept coming and coming. And then little by little, I'll make it short. It's a long story, but the fluid started slowing down. We get less and less and less of it until finally there wasn't any drainage from the cancer. And if you know anything about cancer, if you have cancer internally, the weeping, the fluid is just unending, and everybody experiences that. Well, the fluid stopped, the pain stopped. What's happened? Well, you got one conclusion: the cancer's gone. But they couldn't say that. We asked them, well, why is this happening? They wouldn't say. Well, we don't really know. So long and the short of it is, we went last week into the oncologist, and we walked in, and first thing he says, we'd been with him a couple months earlier, and we told him we weren't going to do this treatment. He says, well, good luck. He says, I'll support you any way I can. But you could read it in his voice and his attitude, like, okay, you're going to go home and you're going to be in pain and you're going to die. So we come back in, and first thing he says, well, you're doing better than I expected. Well, that's good. Well, you have any pain? No. Well, what do you think's happening? Well, I don't know. It says, can you do a PET scan to definitively determine what's happening with the cancer? And he hemmed and hawed, and he says, well, are you going to change your treatment? I said, no. He says, well, then it would just be out of curiosity. So there's no need to do that. Now, that shocked me. If I were a doctor and I saw this happen, I would be curious. But he said, no, we won't do that. So we don't have a definitive test because he wouldn't do it. But there's no pain, there's no fluid. Then we went to another doctor who was dealing with the infection. It was another type of doctor. And we went in to talk to her. And same thing. And I asked her, well, what do you conclude? I said, there's no pain and there's no fluid. What would you? Well, she had a lot of treatments. She had a lot of this, hemmed and hawed, couldn't say it. And so my conclusion, my observation is, they don't want to admit that there's something other than what they do that actually helps. So today, she's not in pain. She doesn't have cancer fluid. Now she has an infection that the hospital gave her when they did this tube that is still active. So we have an infection in the chest called a like empyema,
Right.
and we're dealing with that, but the cancer's gone, and we're just praising God and uh, living our life. And the oncologist said, well, he says, you're looking good. He says, just keep doing what you're doing and live your life.
Wow. Well,
That,
DJ, thank you for that story. That's amazing. It's very disappointing that they don't want to validate it.
no.
You'd think, it's just, I guess it just flies so far in the face of their belief that they don't want to go there. Wow. Well, thank you for that story. A lot of people will give them heart that are dealing with these kind of situations. So thank you, DJ. God bless you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Continued good success and good health. We have, I want to call up, is it Yokohana? Is that
Hi, yes, it's Yoka Johanna.
Yoka?
And
Okay.
don't be fooled. I'm not
Yoha.
Japanese. I'm Dutch. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, it sounds Japanese.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well,
So,
thank you, Yoka.
thank you. It's a pleasure to be on to share my little story.
Awesome.
If I may, February 2nd of 2024, I blacked out and hit a tree at full speed while driving home. The tree, I typed it so that I could condense it. I don't want to go on and on. So the tree and airbags saved my life and those of others. I broke my sternum and ribs. I had 2 hip replacements, 2 knee replacements. I have titanium in my thighs, my legs, and knee replacements. And the last surgery was in December of last year for my foot and left foot. The heel wouldn't come down when I walked, and the other one is a drop foot. So after 14 months, I came home after a very long time. My caregiver and friend took off my space boots. These were heavy duty boots. Um, I needed 2 men to almost carry me to bed. I screamed and cried in pain. At 2 a.m., I realized I can't, forgive me for being emotional, but it was so recent, it was just so recent. I realized I can't live without my boots to support and protect me. Just to walk from the bed to the bathroom. Like, my God, I was in so much pain, worse than after any of my surgeries. And my angel Fifi called to check on me. She knew I was coming home. She told me her story of her fall and pain and was given the mushroom by a friend. She was walking the next day without pain and her walker and could sleep without pain. She told me how she got the mushroom. I asked, how can I buy it? I jumped in and bought a box with $500, and I wish I had bought the $1,000 box. I already gifted 5 friends who have been so good to me. I took 4 capsules and immediately, or it could have been 6 or more, but I just said, this is it. I knew it. My intuition was so keen that the next morning my friend put on my boots. I walked. I was shocked to experience no pain. I had energy to boot. So, sorry.
That's all right.
I had energy to boot. So I walked around my whole house with no pain. I lay down. She took off my boots, and after dinner, I had to use the bathroom. Do you want me to put on your boots? No, I said, my intuition said barefoot. I, I was in shock. Can you imagine? And I walked to the bathroom and back and have stopped wearing my boots since then. Never put the boots on since. Yes, I still shake and perspire with the effort, but it's a miracle. I have a pure wick like they have in hospitals. It's a motorized canister where, with tubing, it sucks up the urine while I get a good night's sleep. The original color went from dark orange brown to almost clear today, a week later. I had a bad burning UTI. I chose no more antibiotics in the nursing home. Instead, I use D-mannose and cranberry juice at home. Excuse me, I gotta stop this call. At home. And my friend Lisa told me to just hang in there, take your stuff and the mushrooms, and the D-mannose and cranberry was maybe making my urine so heavily discolored. No, I said, I feel it's my kidneys and liver detoxing. Now I'm praying my bed sores will heal. What an amazing miracles in less than a month. I'm overjoyed and so grateful. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. That is awesome, Yoka. Thank you so much.
My
Uh,
pleasure. My pleasure.
God
My
bless you. Keep up the great work
yeah, thank you.
and keep us posted.
I sure will.
Okay, we have Richard McFarland.